The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
West Tigers Podcast, episode 473, as we record on a Thursday evening. I've got Aaron and Josh with me tonight. Joel's given himself the night off, so he'll be helping to hold the fort tonight.
We'll survive.
We'll survive. And Aaron, we've had you on a couple of times, so welcome back, mate. You are the self-proclaimed mock of the West Tigers Podcast group. I think you've been on a couple of times before, a couple of heavy losses. Am I correct?
Yeah, I have. I was talking to my dad. I was down at Origin. I was talking to my dad about the Tigers, but I have been to 6 games this year. And we've won 5 of them, so I'm hoping I'm not the mock if I'm at the game, but I might be the mock on the podcast.
Are you going on to Campbelltown on the weekend?
No, I'm not planning on it. So that's probably I don't know whether that's a good sign or not.
So we're probably going to pencil in a loss then for that one, and it's all your fault, Aaron. So.
I was at the Panthers game though, so I was at the biggest loss. Okay,
well that's probably not a memorable one for you, but welcome back, mate. Glad to have you back on the pod.
Thank you.
Since we're talking to you, and it is obviously the evening after State of Origin 2, which if you're a Blues supporter, like I know we are, living down here in Sydney, we copped an absolute shellacking of a second half belting anyway, 44-24 final score. As you're at the MCG last night, so you made your way down to Mexico. How was the experience, and how was the night overall?
Yeah, I went down with the dad to watch the game. It was obviously the result was disappointing, and my thoughts on how the game played out is probably similar to most here and most pundits and most commentators. I mean, I think we all feel the same way about certain things, the way the game sort of panned out. The experience overall was, there's certain aspects that were great. The MCG itself it's an impressive ground to be in, but I don't think it's great for rugby. Yeah, I have been there before. I think that's only the second time I've been there at night, and I do think it's a bit more impressive at night for a sporting event. I mean, the lights were off prior to them coming out. A bit of a light show, plenty of pyrotechnics. There was a lot sort of going on, and the atmosphere was pretty good. There was 90,000 people there, so there was plenty of noise. I kind of felt like walking around through the day. Got down there at about 11 a.m. It was probably 4-1 Queensland jumpers over New South Wales jumpers just walking around the streets. So there was definitely a strong Queensland presence. And I don't know if it was the Melbourne effect, but when they announced Munster and Grant, they got a huge, huge cheer from the crowd. So yeah. I don't know how many were locals and how many were expats or people that had travelled down. So the atmosphere was good. We had great seats. We're in the corner where the Blues scored the 2 tries at the start of the game. But first level, 2 rows back. So we had a great view. But even then, there are aspects at times where it just felt like you were a long way from the game. And I had a mate there who was up in the nosebleeds, and he sent me a photo, and it was like watching ants run around. So whilst I think that the overall spectacle is good, having 90,000 people there and taking the game away, I just don't think the MCG is the best ground for watching rugby league.
I hate watching rugby league on a round or an oval field. For me, it just ruins a bit of the experience, especially like you're saying, you're sitting in a corner. I imagine you're probably 20, 30 metres at least from the nearest corner post, or corner of the field. So, you're that much further to the opposite corner. So when you're at a game live, as you know, unless you've got a big screen near you with easy visibility, which I assume the big screens must be pretty decent at the
The
MCG.
big screens there are good. They've got two big ones, one at each end. I mean, I was at Leichhardt on Sunday. Very, very different, obviously, in
Oh
terms
yeah,
of the atmosphere and the aesthetic of watching a footy game there.
yeah,
I mean, the big screens at the MCG are considerably better than the big screen at Leichhardt, which I can
yeah,
hardly see most of the time.
yeah.
But yeah, it just there were a few people that mentioned the same thing that like around us and chatting to people just around the streets of Melbourne that we bumped into. I bumped into a couple of people I knew down in Melbourne. All said pretty much the same sort of thing, like the great sort of atmosphere, walking to the ground because everyone pretty much walks there from town. They did a good job. The NRL did a good job walking to the ground. They had a lot of like light box installations with images of different players from yesteryear, current players, even moments in games. So I thought that was pretty cool. A lot of blue and pink/maroon lights on the walk in, but yeah, just sort of there were a couple of occasions where the ball particularly was down the other end of the field where I did find myself looking up to the screen to see what was going on.
Yeah, it's usually part and parcel of going to game. Josh, you been to MCG?
I have been to the MCG. I actually used to live in Melbourne for a few years, so
Yeah.
I've been to quite a few AFL games. There were a couple of Origins when I was down there, but they were played at the other ground, not the MCG, the other one at the other end, which had some sponsor name.
Marvel or whatever.
Marvel,
Yeah.
it's now called. Yes. Which obviously, look, that it's a bit of a different shape ground. It is a better experience from a rugby league point of view than the MCG. But look, the MCG is amazing. Love the ground. It's good for AFL and it's good for cricket, but yeah, it's a bit too cavernous for an NRL match, I think, or an Origin match for mine. But we get 90,000 people there. The TV ratings, I think, were the best in history.
Yeah.
So they're obviously doing something right. But I don't think it's a great place to watch footy. But I'm not sure that many people go for the details of the game a lot of the time. So it is what we do.
It is what we do. I've been down to Melbourne a couple of times in the early days of West Tigers on boys' weekends, which were always fun, but never actually been to the MCG. I'd love to get down there for one of the Boxing Day tests, right? They still play Boxing Day tests in Melbourne?
Yeah,
that's
the one.
Love to go down for opening day down there. I reckon the atmosphere would be incredible for that.
It's also the location of the ground is right in the city. You can walk across. You can go to the local pubs and be in the city and wander over there in kind of 10 minutes. It's a perfect local. Like it's a well set up precinct there for the MCG and the tennis and all those kind of things there. So, as opposed to what's the name? ANZ, the Olympic Stadium, which is way out in the middle of nowhere here, which is that's chance. Even our Allianz is kind of hard to get to from the CBD. So yeah, it's a good setup, but probably not the best ground for rugby league.
Yeah, very true.
I was just going to say, I should add as well, just talking about the setup of the ground. We were lucky enough, Dad knew a member who got the tickets for us. So we were basically in the members sort of area, and the members facilities there are 5-star, like the restaurants and bars and all that kind of thing are incredible. So, I mean, if you were a member down at the MCG, I could definitely see myself getting out to plenty of AFL matches and cricket tests and things like that, because it was quite enjoyable. It was a good night out.
Well, it is the sporting capital of Australia, right? So I think Melbourne know what they're doing. So can see why the NRL keep taking Origin back down there, but shame we had to lose that game fairly heavily. But when you were down there, how many times did you get stopped and asked about, West Tigers podcast? Must have been a few.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't recognised from the podcast, but yeah, maybe it doesn't have quite that reach. Maybe the West Tigers fans aren't travelling to Melbourne to watch. They knew Appy wasn't going to get on.
Very possibly. And we will actually talk about Appy because obviously we all kind of sat there watching, well, Josh and I sat there watching the telecast and you were there but I'm sure you were probably keeping an eye on the rotations during the game, and Appy got a few close-ups on camera during the match, and he was sitting there with his yellow vest on, and I think he got up and had a quick warm-up at one stage during the game, but obviously didn't come onto the field. So Josh, what's your take on that? I know you were obviously, keen on him being nice and fresh for the weekend, which we all are, but I feel bad for him. He sat there for 80 minutes and didn't take part.
Yeah, it was a surprise, especially given we brought on Brayley in the first game. I mean, I think Laurie's use of the bench was fairly weird in general. Adam Fanua-Blake played 9 minutes. It was just a strange kind of rotation of the bench. I do wonder if he was going to bring Appy on in that last 20, and then Tony Staggs got sin binned, and maybe it changed things up with having to get some forwards back on the field, or Fanua Blake. But yeah, in the intensity of Origin um, to not bring on another hooker, Reece Robson looked exhausted. Fair enough too when you're a hooker in an Origin game and you're doing lots of defence. Yeah, I thought the Blues missed a trick there without getting Appy on, but I was happy that he was fresh for us this weekend. But yeah, I looked at they, ignoring that I like having him fresh for the Tigers. Appy's the best hooker in New South Wales, and he should be out there. Whether it's kind of off the bench after 20 minutes, I think is probably my preferred thing. That Robson, to take the early sting out of it and then get Appy on, but then he should play most of the game. I think it's very strange that he didn't get a run at all. Like, why do you take a hooker in if you're not going to give him a run? So.
Exactly. And as I don't know what you were thinking at the game, but watching it on the telecast, as Queensland started to get on top early in that second half, I was just waiting for Appy to stand up and run on and maybe use a bit of his creativity to get our boys on the front foot, because I just felt like we were stalled a bit that second half. We looked very slow.
Yeah, look, particularly once we got behind. I mean, look, I would say throughout the game, we probably didn't offer a huge amount of creativity with the ball in hand. I mean, I wouldn't say Cleary and Moses created a huge amount. I mean, 2 of our tries came off basically drop balls off kickoffs. It wasn't like there was a great deal of creative play built up with, work around the ruck and things like that. And Appy obviously brings that in spades. I mean, like Josh is saying, the use of the bench was bizarre. I mean, like leading into halftime and after halftime, Payne Hassoff, Barnett off. Like we had no big men on the field. We had all our back rowers on the field. It just didn't make any sense. And they were running over the top. All of a sudden we couldn't make meters, and we had all the big blokes off. But I think Laurie he seems like a lovely bloke, and he was a great, absolutely fantastic player. But I just don't think he really is, he hasn't coached for a long time. The game has changed. I just don't think he's set up really to handle the way the game works. I mean, outside of the fact that he said like a few things happened and he had to make some changes, I think he was just our coach when you look at, say, when Munster went off for the HIA and Billy utilised it as an opportunity to rotate one of the forwards. And he said we'd planned for that contingency. Now, there's no way in the world Laurie had planned for that contingency for New South Wales, like with, things changing and getting behind. He just had no real plan. I mean, putting Strange on when he didn't really make much sense. It was almost like he just felt like he had to put him on because during the week he said he was going to play him. And that would have been the perfect time to bring Appy on. I mean, Strange could have probably started. I don't think Moses was probably 100%. I mean, he didn't seem quite his powerful, tackle breaking self. He didn't look that dangerous with ball in hand. So, I mean, there was a lot of. I think we were sort of backed into the corner beforehand with selections. It probably played out that way. Ola Kawadu getting dropped. He's been probably Manly's best the last 2 weeks. He was pretty good in Origin 1. They put in a new bloke who played on the right-hand side and he only ever plays on the left. I mean, it seemed like there was just decision after decision that, and we led at halftime. So for us to go out and play like that in the second half with all of those things, feels like all of those things just built up towards it, and the straw eventually broke the camel's back.
Yeah, I do wonder if Mitch Moses' injury was playing up earlier in the game, and that's why they were holding that extra bench spot for Strange, and eventually probably when it was done, they took Moses off. Like that like if Moses was struggling a bit at halftime, then you probably can't use your fourth player as your hooker, or and maybe that's why it held on for Strange, because Mitch was done, because he did seem to second half he didn't seem to be doing as much kicking, he didn't seem to be doing as much running, so perhaps he was perhaps that leg, which I mean honestly I'm not sure I would have picked him with off one run from an injury first. I think fully fit I probably would have picked him, but I think given the circumstances with the injury I don't think that's a risk you should take into Origin. So but I think maybe that caused the Strange piece, but there was still a lot of other strange bench selections from Laurie over the night. Look, I think the Blues did the Blue, like it looks 44-24 is fairly bad, but but it was only 5 tries to 4 when Staggs went off. Like Staggs was sin bin, so I think it blew out a little bit at the end, and that sin binning, playing against 12 men as we saw in the first, does make it look worse. I don't think we're as out of it as we possibly could be coming into the second one. Like if he doesn't get sin binned and it ends up 32-24, then that's a reasonably close game, I think, and maybe things are judged differently. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in the third one.
The thing for me, and I don't want to talk too much more about Origin, but the thing for me is we led 12-8 at halftime, and Queensland scored, if my maths is correct, 36 points in the second half, which is an absolute landslide. So for me, that's one-way traffic. The other thing too, there was a lot of talk that Laurie Daly had told the boys to start fast and don't miss the start, which they did. They were up at halftime, which is great. It almost was like they came out the second half. I know Queensland were obviously desperate. Billy would have had the Queensland boys in the sheds at halftime saying, you've got 40 minutes to turn this around. Otherwise, the season is over. Like the series is done. We're going to lose. And they did turn it on, but we just kind of looked like we went out. I'm not going to say we went through the motions, but we didn't look as much as we went out with the intent that we did in the first half. Maybe I'm wrong, but we were definitely outclassed. And I think you're right, as I think Billy Slater purely outclassed or outcoached Laurie Daly. I think he gave him a bit of a schooling there, but it is an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like if he'd got the rotations right, and maybe we had, Barnett hardly played. I don't think he was great, but he didn't get a huge amount of time. But I think if you had a couple of bigger bodies, whether it was Barnett and Haas or Haas and Fanua Blake coming out at the start of the second half, maybe you can handle that momentum that, Queensland are all out. But with all of the smaller blokes on there, and they got through the middle 2 or 3 times, so basically ran straight through the center. So, I mean, to me, and I thought we were making good meterage on our sets in the first half. The start of the second half, I mean, we were making 10, 15, 20 meters. It was a complete change in the flow of the game.
I'd bring Ola Kawadu back for game 3. I'm not sure about you boys, Josh. Hesitant.
Yeah, no, I agree with that one. It wouldn't be my only change, but I mean, I think Dylan Lucas probably played fairly well. I mean, he was swapped sides, and and there just wasn't much ball kind of going into that side. He made 38 tackles, missed 1, so I don't think he played badly and probably deserves. Like the one that I'm unimpressed with Victor Radley coming off the bench. I think it just doesn't do much for me. I'd have Olakau'atu back in, but I'd probably keep Dylan Lucas. Maybe Olakau'atu coming off the bench. I think Mitch Barnett probably is not at his best, and I wouldn't have him in the side. I kind of start with Fanua Blake and Haas and have Terrell May coming off the bench if possible. This is the Tigers podcast, so so that'd be my go. And I'd probably have Murray starting for Isaiah Yeo. I think Isaiah Yeo doesn't quite have that impact at Origin that he does at club level. So I'd probably have him and Terrell off the bench as props more than and dump Victor Radley to kind of change that up a bit. But I think the backs, I mean, it depends on injuries. I wasn't overly impressed. I know he scored 2 tries, but I didn't think Marky Mark, and he scored 2, but he did. There was 3 go in. So I don't think Staggs probably earned himself a demotion from Origin last night. So, but depends who's fit. Latrell Mitchell, Stephen Crichton. There's a bunch of guys who might come back into those spots. Just depends who's available. So.
What about Liam Martin? Liam Martin to me looks like an Origin player.
Yeah, he is definitely. I mean, I think he was probably a little bit underdone as well, which is probably why they hadn't brought him in. I mean, I agree with Josh on all of those. I think Trell is a walk-up start. We haven't looked dangerous enough on the edges. They've been well contained, and he's just a beast at Origin level. So, I mean, I think he just walks straight in if he's fit. Hopefully, he plays this weekend for the Bunnies, and we get him back. The other one there's been a bit of talk about is because Turbo's due back for Manly this week, so there is a chance that they could bring him back in and utilise him on the outside somewhere, whether it be on the wing or in the centres.
I think we remember Turbo how he was a few years ago. I'm not sure he's the same Turbo.
Yeah, I think he's played okay this year when he was around, but obviously he's prone to injuries and stuff like that. But I mean, I agree with that, and I agree with Liam Martin. I mean, he'd be a guy that he's going to get through plenty of work. I think he's just probably been a bit underdone a little bit, but I think Cameron Murray definitely has to start.
Yep.
And I just think they just have to get the bench. The bench has to be a better balanced bench than what it has been. I just don't think the bench has been balanced in either of the games so far. I think we got away with it in game one, playing against 12 for the last, 25 minutes, whatever it was. And last night, we were in a position to win the game, and then they basically played their second half like they did the first half last week and first game and dominated us. So it's not going to be easy beating them at Suncorp, but especially at that point for performance. So I think they are going to have to definitely make a few changes to, and I would like just a little bit more size on the bench. I just think we've got a few too many back rowers, and when guys like Lindsay Collins and that have come on for them, Tino, they've really torn us apart.
Yeah,
size and a bit more physicality, as Joel would say. Josh,
that's Joel's favourite word, and I think we definitely needed it last night. So
we did. Yeah, either of you boys going up to Brisbane for Game 3? As you'd be going up, wouldn't you?
No, I'm not going, mate. No,
I don't believe that.
Not planning on it. No, not planning on it. I don't want to put the mock on them. I'll just sit at home and watch this time.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll be on the couch.
You'll be on the couch. I probably will be too. But if you do go up, Az, just let me know. Maybe I can. I don't know.
Jump in the
swing a lead
suitcase.
pass. Yeah, sounds good. Let's do it. But no, that's good chat about Origin. It certainly sets up nicely for the NRL to have a decider up in Queensland. I think that's what they always hoped for. Not saying that the NRL is rigged, but it certainly does set up very well for maybe another record in the ratings and hopefully the Blues win. But very hard to beat up there in Queensland. But Game 3 will be very interesting to see how that pans out, as well as some positional or possible changes in the Blues team before then. So we'll see what happens. But in some West Tigers news, which we did have some today, some more news on the Israel Folau story, which is interesting, boys. So you would have seen, I know Joel shared in our group chat, that Israel's lovely wife, I think her name's Maria, came out and looked like an Instagram post where she wanted to clear the air and just put out their side of the story, which was interesting to hear. So she effectively said that Benji initially reached out to Israel and said, we'd love you to play out the rest of the season at West Tigers. Leave it with me and we'll make it happen. And it sounds like, Josh, that it was shut down by our own Wayne Junior Pearce, who has some type of role in the NRL.
Yeah, well, Junior is on the NRL commission, and whether it was him specifically or the commission in general that were shutting it down, I can understand, for the advantages that a 37-year-old winger brings on a train and trial. Did the NRL, for the controversy, for the challenges, for the sponsorship things, they're probably like, we don't need that trouble. So I can understand it from their end. They probably didn't want it publicised, and that's why the Tigers didn't. My understanding is didn't submit a contract to the NRL to make them make a formal decision. But the word obviously was passed down to say no. Look, and you see this, and I get they've got a right to come out and be unhappy, his wife and Israel, although he's earned plenty of money out of plenty of football codes over the time. I think it probably shows that it's the kind that they are a magnet for controversy, and perhaps we didn't need that controversy at our club. Although, despite not signing them to a training trial, we seem to have been dragged into a few weeks worth of stories anyway. So we've got no benefit in all the problems. Look, I think as we said at the time, if you take away the off-field stuff and the noise, he's a footballer. He's a great footballer, incredible athlete. He's a bit older, but he has been playing professional rugby in Japan, so it's not like he's coming out of retirement. We did pull Pat Herbert out of 4 years of retirement, and he's gone okay. So I think on the field, would he have made a difference, or at least for a train and trial, was it worth it? Probably. Off the field, the NRL said no. Am I too disappointed? Not particularly. But yeah, his wife did give them a real smack about him not being allowed, and I think she called out the bunch of players have been allowed back to the game after worse things,
Yeah.
which is probably true. I mean, we're also interested in signing Manasi Fainu. It's been talked about. You'd absolutely say has done worse things, but they're good redemption stories. Israel Folau coming back is just sponsor bad news. So I can understand the NRL's position on it, to be honest.
It's a hard one, right? Because I can see where Josh is coming from, but I think it was 8 years ago that Folau made those comments around. I'm not going to get into the details. It was a while ago, and I know that his wife mentioned that as well. That it was so long ago that what happens about all these other players that have done had issues in the past or done misdemeanors and get another chance. So I get what you're saying, Josh, as well, that he's 37 and he hasn't played NRL for 16 years. We talked about that a week or so ago and a couple of pods ago, but it is a long time. I can see the value in his standing in all codes, I suppose, and the public person that he is. He's very well known and he is an athlete. As you pointed out, he's still scoring tries, or he had been scoring tries almost every game in Japanese rugby up until very recently. But I thought he would have been a good mentor for a playing mentor for a lot of the younger boys. And we do have a very young squad again this season. But and he probably would have provided some covering that in anywhere in the back line, really, from fullback through to wing centre as well. So anyway, it looks like it's not going to happen but I have seen, obviously we have players in our team now, and as Josh mentioned, Manasseh's sounding like a possibility. We'll be signing on, and you could probably look at that way too. That he's still incarcerated at the moment, but potentially coming over to the Tigers for next season. But Izzy, would you have taken Izzy?
Well, I mean, like I'm a little bit split. I mean, I could see some benefit from a guy with his experience being around the group. I'm not sure we would have got that much from him. I mean, I don't think
play him in, even if he played reserve grade.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But like Josh said, it's definitely a scenario for the Tigers. It was a very low risk scenario. It's a train and trial. It would have cost them very little. I mean, I think he's high profile. And a lot of people sort of moved on from some of the stuff that he was sort of went on with or posted about back in the day, probably. And I don't think it would have been as big an issue. But obviously, the NRL have deemed that they don't need those headlines, so they've sort of, I guess, made the decision, and we just move on. I mean, I think his wife's fairly outspoken on a lot of these things. From memory, I think she was fairly outspoken last time when he was fined or dropped or whatever happened with the group he was in, the team he was with at the time. I think it was with the rugby, New South Wales Rugby or something like that. So I think, it's just her nature. She's got a right to, she wants to, but like Josh said, this sort of in a way feels like the Tigers are getting drawn into it. But I don't think, although Wayne Pearce is attached to it, I don't think it's really got anything to do with the Tigers making the decision. That they were willing to take him on, and
Yep, no, I can understand that too. In regards to other potential players and mid-season stories over the last few days, a couple of former Tigers, Luciano Leilua and Sean Bloor, have been names thrown around in the press. Now, they haven't been linked to West Tigers, but there have been some stories about possibly coming over to the club. Personally, I wouldn't take Luciano. He's left several clubs, including the Tigers, on sour note. Mainly to go for more money at other clubs, and he's had a couple of stints now at the Dragons, and it hasn't ended too well. Sean Bloor for me is a different one. I know he went to Melbourne, and I know that there's been some talk. I can't remember exactly what. I think someone told me over a group chat today that that the club effectively showed him the door and said, "Well, if you want to go, you can. You're free to look elsewhere." And I know he went to Melbourne for an opportunity, and I think he's probably had a really good couple of seasons down there. Learning a lot about, such a great system that the Storm play. But for the amount of issues we've got in our back row at the moment, even if it was for the rest of this year, I'd take Sean Bloor back in a heartbeat. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I completely agree. I wouldn't touch Luciano Leilua. I mean, I don't think he was that great for us when he was around. He's been ordinary for the Dragons. He's got plenty of errors in him. I see no benefit in bringing a guy like that back in, even considering how short we are in the back row. I'd rather play safe out there. It's I don't see any real upside. But Sean Bloor is a bit of a different one. I think he was okay for the Tigers. He obviously promised a bit, maybe didn't quite fulfill his potential. I think he was great for the Storm last year. It hasn't worked out for him this year, but I think he's shown some potential down there. So if he was available, and considering how short we are in the back row, I'd definitely take him on for the rest of the season, or even a season and a half.
Yeah, I don't know, Josh, what the stories around Sean Bloor. I'm not sure whether he's been offered for the rest of this year, if he can find a deal, or if it is to negotiate from 2027. Do you know any more about that?
I think there's been rumours for it. I think it's mainly about next year. I think that's mainly what the talk has been. But obviously, once you're often for that, and as Melbourne hopefully drift out of finals contention, that maybe in the next we got two weeks. So, I think if the offer's right, or there's options around other things that Melbourne are looking for, then perhaps you could find that. I'm kind of with you, Aaron. I don't think. I think we've had our. I think Luch had his chance here, and my issue with him has always been, no matter where he's been, he's never been fit enough. And so, at the age of almost 31, I don't think that's gonna change. And we saw with Joey, those things didn't get better as they got older. So, not really a fan of Luch, but a huge fan of the idea of Sean Bloor coming back. I think, and I think he's 25. He's a big boy. I think maybe his future is in the middle more than the edge over time. So, but I think he could be a great option coming off that bench. Obviously, has good relationships with the Tigers. I think it was Scott Fulton who kind of pushed him out in his short term here as the recruitment guy. But if we could get Bloor back, he's really good in defence. Hard runner. He's a guy who's played grand finals when he's been down at the Storm. Played in the grand final, been down at the Storm. I think that'd be a great signing, both for this year and kind of moving forward to kind of add to our depth. I mean, we've seen this year, we have kind of one injury in the back row and it falls apart. If you ask me, would I swap Alex Seyfarth, even after his great game last week, would I swap him for Sean Bloor? The answer would be absolutely. And would I swap Tony Sukkar for Sean Bloor? Yes, 100%. So if he can come this year and next year to add to that depth and maybe play kind of second row or prop, kind of bench prop and back row, absolutely would have him. So yeah, that's an exciting one for me.
Alex Seyfarth, for me, he got me very excited last week, Josh, at Leichhardt. I thought he was exceptional, as we spoke about on Sunday night. He had a cracking game. I'm very curious to see if he can back it up, because we're going to need a few of those boys to back up that type of performance against the Dolphins, who are obviously flying very high at the moment. We'll start to lean into that Dolphins game now. One player I want to quickly mention, and I want to ask you boys about whether you think he can back up last week's performance this week, is Jerome Luai. Now, he was very good. I know he cops a lot of criticism, Luai, and I think that's more to do with, off the back of our results. So when we lose, the leaders get blamed. So Romy's always one of the first ones to get blamed. He obviously did stand up last week at Leichhardt, and I was there. It was an unbelievable atmosphere, as you were there up in the stand. I don't have stand tickets, mate, but I was, down a bit closer to the fence in the general admission area, but had a great time. But Romy was really good. I watched some of the highlights back today. So he actually set up a couple tries early, as well as scoring those 3 on his own in the second half. So you could see the passion, especially when he scored that last try, and he gave a bit of a FU to the crowd, which I think is a bit of a shame, to be honest, because not everyone is on the negative train with him. But it just goes to show the amount of passion that he plays with. But Romy, for me, look, the team got absolutely punished against the Panthers, who are by far the strongest team in the comp. And then we stood up and battled hard to beat the team running second last in the Titans. But we got a really tough one as against the Dolphins. I think Romy needs to back it up again.
Definitely. I think there were a couple of things at the Leichhardt game that I think he did a little bit differently to what he had been doing in the weeks before. I think at times he can get a bit too lateral and he can jump around a little bit too much. He probably played a little bit more direct last week, like he took the ball straighter at the line. And I think a couple of those tries were basically him just basically taking the line on, like straight at it. A little jink, go at a gap, he's a pretty strong ball runner. I mean, that was always part of his strength at the Panthers, was his ball running game outside of someone like Cleary, who would direct them around. And I think that's what we need at the moment. We need someone that can straighten up. We've lost Dewey's running game. He has to basically take charge in that regard. The other thing I love about Romy is, like, when he fires up defensively, like he makes a couple of big hits and that kind of thing, it really, not only does it lift the team, but it really seems to get him going. And there were a couple of hits in that game at Leichhardt. Actually, I reckon most of the times I've seen him play at Leichhardt, he's played well there. Like it seems to be a ground he lives at. So I think it is that atmosphere, the noise, the energy he builds on. We just need him to do it at other grounds and in other occasions, and particularly against the big teams. I mean, this is a huge week for us. I mean, it's not a game I would say we're expected to win, obviously. Like Dolphins are flying. They've got a great squad. Even with the guys they're resting this week, they've still got a fantastic squad. If we were able to jag 2 points here, that's a huge jump towards a potential chance at making the finals.
Yep.
So just having a look at the table, there'd be, if we were to beat them, Cows, I think, play maybe the Warriors. If they were to jag a win there, and there was another game, there could be like 8 teams on 20 points or something like that. So it's getting tight around that 8, and these are the games that would be it would be great for us to jag and take a couple of points from a team above us.
Yeah, this week's probably not one I'm thinking we have a great chance of winning. But Josh, just quickly on Jerome, I'd forgotten until I watched the highlights, and I remember seeing it at the game. But the very first hit up at Leichhardt, Romy ran in to take the kickoff because it was falling a little short in the winds. And I think he had so much forward momentum. He just ran straight into the defensive line, and he took the first hit up of the game. I've never seen a halfback or a half take the first hit up of the match before. I thought that was very impressive.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. I mean, as you said, I'm not sure how much of it was the reality of the ball was falling short and he was running forward. And he kind of, once he caught it, he really had no other options.
Yeah.
But he didn't stop and look for someone. He just kept going. Look, I think his energy is generally really good. I mean, we have been so short of players. It's hard for a half to stand up. I mean, we all think back to the great halves, but we forget they all played in a bunch of games over their time where they got flogged and they didn't do much. But we kind of forget that at the end of careers. So, look, I think he's a great energy, brings great energy. Look, the whole move thing would have been a bit of a thing on him. I think he was, playing injured for a couple of weeks. We're really short of troops. It was great to see him back last week. I thought he was at full energy, as mentioned, and you've mentioned, like he was running more direct, which is, I think, when he looks his best. I think it's really exciting. Hopefully he comes with that energy again this weekend, because I think especially at home at Campbelltown, the boys will go with him if he comes out with that same energy. I think Appy will be up for a big game after sitting on the bench. So I think, and hopefully the King returns at halfback. So, we could have our full strength back line. And
you're talking about Adam Dewey, not Wally Lewis, right? I
am talking about Adam Dewey, the new king of the Tigers, Adam Dewey. I think he's been that this season, and he'll be keen to get on the field and show he deserves to be on the bench for Origin 3. So very excited about that for Adam, hopefully returning this week too.
Yeah, as of recording, so it's just after 9 p.m. on Thursday night. I don't think we've heard anything on Adam Dewey's fitness test. So I know that the club came out and said when they released the team that Dewey was named at number 22, which was a big surprise because it was interesting. Because after Benji's press conference on the weekend, he kind of said we're not going to rush him back. Maybe 1 or 2, probably another 2 weeks we'll bring him back. And here he is named at 22, pending a fitness test for inclusion, which is interesting, Josh.
Yep. Yeah, I think he'll be back. I don't think we name him unless we were fairly confident that he was going to come back and play this weekend. Because I think, I think they'd have to have a fair confidence. Otherwise, they probably would have given him another week. So I think we'll see him starting halfback on Saturday. And then you look, we've got our spine back. Like, yes, we have some challenges in in some of the forward positions, but we've got our full strength back line. We've got our full strength spine. We've got our front row is looking good. I'm feeling more confident as the week goes on, Nick. I'm starting to get excited about the fact we and the Dolphins are, some of their players are not playing after Origin. So, and they've only won 8 games. We've won 7. We've had a horrible injury toll. This is anyone can win, and we're at home. Dolphins hate travelling to Sydney, so I'm very excited about that. I'm getting more excited. I'm talking myself into a good win here.
Well, you're getting me excited, but I look at the team lists and I look at the form guide and I start to swing back the other way. And as you know, I can be a bit negative. every now and
Oh,
then.
mate, we all can.
And Josh hit the nail on the head. Dolphins are resting their Origin players, which is great for us. I do wonder, actually, as if AD is named, he will obviously come straight into 7. So I would think that Jock could probably slip right out of the squad. I can't imagine he'd go
Yeah,
into the bench.
it's interesting because I'm actually I don't know if I'm in Josh's camp here. I actually don't think AD will play. I think
Yeah.
if he's 50-50 come Thursday, he's doing a fitness test, that kind of thing. With some of the games coming up that are Dragons, these sort of games in the weeks following, Knights, games that I feel like the Knights will be tough, but games that I feel that if we're getting back our full strength, like our side, we're getting back some of our better players, we will be a lot more competitive in. I almost wonder whether they're better off, not running the risk of bringing him back a week early this week. But look, who knows? Who knows what sort of state he's in? But it just seems strange to name him number 21 or 22. It's obviously, it was a little bit up for debate whether he was to play this week or not. I thought Jock was okay last week. I don't think he'd been great the weeks before that, but I actually thought he was okay last week. If he was to bring some of that form back in, he played quite well against Newcastle at Campbelltown earlier in the year out there. Maybe we can get away with another week with him at 7. Obviously, where we're just dying at the moment. So our back row, our forward pack. So, and our bench.
Bloody KPP. Peck. How bad was that? Like, to lose Sam Fano is one thing, but for me at the start of the year, at the start of the year with Samuela on the left and KPP on the right, I thought we've got probably the best strike back rowers in the comp. Agreed. And we've lost both of them. But yeah, you knew straight away. I saw it too. Like, I could see him out the back of the play after it happened, and he was very stationary and he had his hand up holding his pec. And I thought, this isn't good. Like, if he was 50-50, you might try and run back into the line and get back into the game, but he was gone when it happened. But
yeah, I didn't take my eyes off him for that 30 seconds because I just rate him so highly from everything he offers. Just his work rate is top notch. His defense is great. Good ball runner. I just think he's been one of our best this year. To lose him on the back of losing Fanu, who we obviously haven't had Samuel for quite a few weeks, it was just unbelievable. But as we've touched on, that's my biggest concern. Seyfarth had a great game last week, but him and Suka in the back row for me, I'm just worried that we could struggle down the edges this week.
Well, Sione's out on the other side, so Suka and Sione are the back row. Terrell and Pole. Actually, Pole starts this week. I thought actually he was better off on the bench, which I think he's better off anyway. I think he brings a bit more impact off the bench, Josh. I reckon we'll see them swap over him and Afoa.
Yeah, and I think, he was named to start last week and then Bunty was kind of brought in. I think we'll see the same. I think that worked well for them. I think it works well for Bunty to get kind of pump out that 20 minutes early and then come back at the end of the game. It gives him a bigger rest between stints there. And I think Pole's been good this year, but I thought off the bench, he really, when he comes on fresh against some tiring forwards, and the Dolphins pack, like with a few blokes out from Origin. Kafusi's old, Francis Molo is okay. He's nothing special. Their back row, which is usually a real thing for them. Oren Keeley's generally been a reserve grader. Lemu Elu is a decent player, but not amazing. Morgan Knowles came over from England, but hasn't shot the lights out. I think their pack is fairly average too. So I think if we can hold our own, it'll be a close contest. But that back row is a worry. I think our front row though probably gets over theirs with Terrell and Pole and Bunty and Appy. And you got to think, Pole plays half the minutes, and Bunty plays half the minutes in one side. Terrell's going to play, I imagine play virtually 80. So we're talking about the bench being weak. I'm not sure we'll need many minutes out of most of the rest of the bench. Lanyon will come on for probably play a bit for Appy. Bunty, as I mentioned. The back row, most of them can play close to 80. You probably get one of Guy and Murray on. We could well only see, two guys playing significant minutes and maybe one of the others comes on for Sukar or Seyfarth towards the end, or they both come on towards the end if there's no injuries. I don't think we need that deeper bench given the big minutes that Terrell plays. So, but the back row is a concern. Like Tony Sukar and Sione's a good player, but he's a good middle player, not a good edge. And Alex Seyfarth was amazing last week, but that's 1 out of 103. To get 2 out of 104 the next week will be would be a shock to everyone, I think. So
I think they'll probably play Plath and Finafuaki, won't they? Because they've been named on the extended numbers. They've left out Hammer and Cobbo, but I think those two will probably play. I think Finafuaki only played 10 minutes or so, so I would imagine he'll definitely play.
Yeah, that's a good point. Plath played a lot of minutes.
Plath played a while, but so if those two come back in at lock and second row, it does strengthen up their back row a little bit. But I guess the thing I'm always worried about is more the opposition centres when I look at our back row defensively. And you're looking at Farnworth and Jack Bostock's been incredible for them since moving to the centres. So it does worry me a little bit with those two.
Herbie's in good form.
Edge defence. Yeah, very good.
I mean, that's probably the best centre combination in the comp this year. Like, since Bostock's come back, they have both been. There's a reason he got picked for Origin. And Herbie is, Herbie would be up there with Latrell as the best two centres in the game for mine. So, I think that is. I mean, you've seen this year with all the Dolphins games, that's been their strike weapons, and their halves are good. Like that's a good.
Yeah,
it's a good attacking halves pairing. We should be running at Cody Nikarima all night because he can't tackle to save his life, but he creates lots of points.
He's playing well. I watched the Dolphins last week and I actually really enjoyed watching them. I think they're playing free-flowing footy and they're a team for me that looks like they should be a top 4 team come the end of the season. But it'd be interesting to track their progress. I'm glad they're resting Hammer and Cobbo because I thought, especially Cobbo looked outstanding last night. He made a tackle break I think it was in the second half, very early in the second half, and was hard to pull down. But yeah, they're missing a little bit of strike, but they do have some good players. Isaiah Katoa, good player. Him and Nikarima in the halves, very dangerous. One guy that I still love watching play footy, and especially goal kicking, Jermaine Asako. Been around for a while, but every time he's kicking from the left sideline, I don't think he's ever going to miss. He's rock solid. He's just so smooth with his style. Really good kicker. Aaron, I see you nodding your head. You a goal kicker from
way back? Not a goal kicker from way back, but I agree. He's very solid. I think he's off to the Storm next year? Is it Katoa? Is it Isaiah that's off to the Storm next year? I think
so.
Yeah, I think
Asako. Yeah, Asako.
Sorry, Jermaine Asako.
Yeah,
heading to the Storm next year. So, I think they've found a good one there, and they're probably thinking the same. Like he offers basically goal kicking, and he's a strike winger. Look, I do think we have a chance. It's not that I don't think we have a chance. I just think we're going to be up against it a little bit with my biggest concern at the moment with the Tigers is just that until I feel like we've got the majority of our top-notch troops back.
Yeah,
I'm just worried against the top 4 teams how well we can compete. I think we can beat sides like the Titans and the Dragons and Dogs, those sort of teams. But I think those top-notch teams we're going to struggle against a little bit if we've got 5 or 6 of our absolute top-notch guys out, and they've been some of our best players that we've had out in some of those games. So, some of the young guys are doing well. Lanyon was great last week, so I'm looking forward to seeing him get a few more minutes.
He was very good
coming off the bench, possibly this week. And I think he can even do a job at like in the centre at like a 13 or something like that. So, I think he offers a fair bit of variety and flexibility for Benji with what he may want to do, but. Look, I think if we can be strong enough around the middle defensively and just contain their edges enough that they don't run in a heap of points. If we can maintain that we keep them to 20 or less, then I definitely give us a chance. I just think if they get on a bit of a run and start scoring a lot of points, I think we're going to struggle to run them down. So.
Yeah, we need to stay in the fight early. So hopefully we go out there and give it a real good shake. They're going to be hard to beat, but it's funny because when you look at our history against the Dolphins, and as you mentioned, Josh, before we jumped on, they've only been around for a few years, and we've only played them 4 times. interestingly, we've only ever played them once in Sydney before, which was our first game at Combank in 2023. But it's 2 each, 2 wins apiece. And the margin between both sides for those 4 games is quite close. I think it's only an average of 8 or 9 points difference. So it's interesting, for such a young rivalry that we're fairly well balanced in terms of results anyway. So, Josh, I don't know about you, mate, but I'm not overly confident. I'd like to be, and you were sort of talking me around a little bit earlier, but maybe with those stats, it might be working in our favour a little bit.
Well, the other thing is the Dolphins, you talked about them having played us in Sydney. The Dolphins hardly ever play in Sydney.
Yeah.
This is one of the, I think, a really, like they've only played one game. What are we? Round 16. They've only played one game in Sydney this year. And I think I was looking back, and I think they only played about 3 in Sydney last year. A lot of the Sydney teams take them, they obviously play, all the Brisbane derbies, a lot, and they're not the most popular drawing team. So the Dolphins aren't used to, it's all right. Winning up there in Queensland, but the Dolphins aren't used to coming down to Sydney to, playing in the big smoke against proper city teams. They don't do it very often. They don't come to Sydney, and to be out at Campbelltown on a cold Saturday night, the crowd, hopefully a big crowd, giving it to them. The weather will be very different. They've had to fly, they've had to travel, they've had disruptions of origin. I think they could be ripe for the picking. I think I'm getting, as I said, every moment I'm getting more and more confident that the Tigers are going to smash my park. It's also a day game, which I think where we play our best footy, in Campbelltown during the day.
So I'm starting to come around here.
Mate, it's everything's pointing to a Tigers win this weekend, Nick. Everything.
I was about to say, Josh, because you mentioned that maybe the Dolphins won't like a cold Saturday night in Campbelltown.
It's a cold Saturday afternoon. It's
unless they're going out afterwards. They might be going across the road to the club afterwards, and they won't like the cold. Maybe they'll bring a fur coat with them to keep them warm. But 3 o'clock kickoff. But like I said, hopefully we come out and give it a good shake. 2 wins apiece. First game at Campbelltown for the Dolphins. They've never played at Leichhardt, interestingly, and at least it won't be a couple of years before they do play at Leichhardt. But and Abby Coruscant, one interesting stat, Uppy, has scored 3 tries out of 4 matches against the Dolphins. So he's got a good strike record. And maybe he'll have a bit of a point to prove to Laurie Daly and the Blue selectors when he runs out at Campbelltown on Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. Josh.
Oh, absolutely will. He'll be pumped after not getting on the field. Appy will be right up for it. He'll be fresh. He'll be 30 grand richer without having to do anything. So
it's not bad money, is it?
Who does not want that? I don't think he'll be pumped. I think Terrell will be pumped for a big game. I think, the boys will be right up for this, especially after winning at Leichhardt. They'll want to, I understand this year they'll really up for, that they can't just have, like there are going to be lots of games at Campbelltown going forward, and they really wanted to play better there. And we had a big win over the Knights at Campbelltown. We lost by 1 point to the Broncos, and I think they would have been very disappointed about that. But I think the boys will be, I think after that, it's a ground the team want to do well at. They know that next year they're going to be playing, at least 8 games there. We have to make this a fortress. So I think they'll be pumped on a cold Saturday afternoon, Nick. I think when we get to predictions, but by the time we get there, it could be 100. I'm predicting. So,
sorry, Nick, go on, mate.
No, I was going to say hopefully we can make it a fortress, because Leichhardt was a fortress on Sunday, as you know. As it was fantastic to see everyone on the hill and all of us in the stands and down in the concourse singing along to all those songs that they play over the speakers, but. Hopefully we can replicate that at Campbelltown.
Well, it's always been a bit of a fortress like that, hasn't it? So it'd be great to get that atmosphere. I mean, I've only been out to Campbelltown 3 or 4 times, but I really enjoyed the Newcastle game. It was a big crowd. Atmosphere was good. Not quite Leichhardt, but it was still great out there. So it'd be great to turn that into a bit of a fortress. One thing I was going to just touch on, and I know you guys mentioned it on Sunday after the pod, but one of the best things is, like, our backline hasn't changed this week. It's actually the same, lineup as the week before, and our forward pack it's actually pretty much the same, really. I mean, Appy's come back in, but I mean, you would expect him to, and then Suka's in the back row, but he played 70 anyway. Yeah. So it's almost the same side that played last week, which is, like like we were talking about, has probably never happened, this year, maybe once, So there's been so many changes to the group week in, week out, whether it be through injuries or suspension, that it's good to hopefully build a little bit of continuity with the squad that we've got.
And Stafford named on the wing this week. He was named in the centres last week, but shifted out to the wing
Played out
before
the
the
wing.
game started, which was interesting.
And now I thought he was good, yeah. And
Yeah.
I've been very critical of him because mainly defensively, like I just don't think his arm was 100%. But maybe on the wing, he doesn't have to worry about that quite as much, making the number of
He
decisions.
just tackles with one on the wing. He could just aim that one shoulder and leave the other one hanging off the edge.
Ponga style.
Yeah, that's it.
He might as well get that left arm amputated. If he
Yeah,
stays out in the left wing, he doesn't need it.
That's it. Yeah, get the right wing.
He can make it work. Yes, but anyway, we'll see how we go on Saturday at 3 p.m. out at Campbelltown. Score predictions. What do you reckon, mate? Tigers.
All right, I'm going to go 24-20. I'm going to get us Tigers, of course. So I got us getting home by 4 points.
Josh, I think you're going to pick Tigers. I can sense it.
Nick, I am, and I'm going to say I got two things. One, I'm going to say the Tigers are going to win 44-18. We're going to absolutely smash those Dolphins. I've gone through it this podcast. I was probably after a close win at the start, but I've talked myself into it. We are going to absolutely smash them. So 44-18 to the Tigers. And also a shout out. I'll hopefully be watching it. Depends how things go with the family, but hopefully watching it at the Canterbury Hotel, where the Summer Hills Suns Cricket Club, my cricket club, have our presentation night and trivia night. So shout out to the boys. Get down there before the trivia night and prezzo night, and we'll have a few beers and watch the Tigers flog the Dolphins, hopefully. So
fantastic. I know Aaron likes a bit of trivia, and actually talking about trivia, our friend Jordan, who's not on this evening, went. I think it was at the Platinum members night out, or they had a dinner. Josh,
yeah, they're very fancy. Yeah. I think it was Platinum members. Yeah.
Yes, and Jordan actually got to sit on the table with Sonia Taruva and played trivia with him. So I'm sure every podcast for the rest of the year we're going to hear about Jordan playing trivia with Sonia Taruva.
I'm going to have to find a random player to go and do something with. I'm thinking maybe, something with Tristan Hope or Will Craig. Something right on the basics. I'll get out with the boys and do something. Bit of bowls or something. So
that sounds great. If you ever get to play bowls with Will Craig, let me know. I'd love to come and watch. So, Will Craig, if you're listening, all the best, mate. Hope you're well. I think you're playing fairly well in Cup. Now, Magpies last week, just before we disband, how about that score? They were up 48-0 at halftime. I know we spoke about this on the weekend, Aaron, but against a Roosters team that was obviously fairly depleted in first grade, no doubt impacted their lower grades, but huge win for the Magpies and really good for our pathways as well.
I mean, I think at full strength, our New South Wales Cup side should be pretty good. They should be pretty competitive if we've got a full strength first grade side, because the squad's reasonable enough, particularly for New South Wales Cup. So I know we've sort of touched on where to for a couple of the guys in the squad when we're back to full strength. And if some of those guys do move back down to New South Wales Cup, we might have, hopefully we've got two teams in the finals that we can cheer on.
That would be nice. And I'm wearing my training shirt from the 2008 season when I was a trainer with the West Magpies. So big shout out to the Maggies. Had a great season in New South Wales Cup. Had quite a few boys. Bo Ryan, the original Dane Laurie, Ryan O'Hara. Shannon Gallant was our fullback. Really good players in our team that year. And we fell one short of a grand final. But big shout out to the Magpies.
Big Dane Laurie. Did you play golf with him at all?
No, I didn't play golf with Dane Laurie, but I was actually driving a little Nissan Pulsar hatchback back in those days. And Dane Laurie, I gave him a lift to training a couple of times, and he barely fit in the car. He had to.
No, he was a big unit.
He was a big unit. He had to squash his head down to fit his dreadlocks inside the car roof or ceiling. But big fella with a lot of potential that probably didn't, get the most out of it, sadly. But
so much talent. He was he like those. I remember when he first came on those first couple of games. It was just like, wow, this is a machine. Yes. What could have been? But anyway, thanks, boys. It's been fun. I know Joel likes to do this, so if you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. Give us a subscribe and like and share and all that sort of stuff. And everyone head over to the West Tigers Podcast Forum where you can all join in the chat. And Aaron will be submitting his one word after we beat the Dolphins. And you've got me pumped up, boys. I'm actually going to pick the Tigers this week. Maybe there'll be an ambush. We're not favourites, and maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe we need someone to pick the other two. No, I'm going to pick the Tigers. I'm going to go. Let's go a 2005 score, 30-16. Tigers win.
Lovely.
Nice.
Let's see what happens. All right, boys. Thanks for jumping on. Good fun.
Thanks, guys.
Nick. Thanks, Aaron.
Have a good night. See ya.